different race winners from 3 different teams. A little bit of unpredictability as well. We still don't really have an idea who's going to take the commanding lead in the championship fight. So we're no the wiser, really, now that we've come to Dubai, and the racing's still going to be just as exciting.
That's right, we are here live from the Dubai Autodrome, and there's so much to talk about before we get into the qualifying of the race today. But having said that, what do you make of Sebastian Montoya? And, you know, of course, we had Gabriel Mini and Gabriel Bortoleto taking up pole positions and, of course, the podium finishes. What about these 3 drivers who took the stand? Because any surprises there?
Certainly was nice to see Sebastian Montoya win on his debut in the category. He's had a really difficult time in F4. He's always had the speed, but he's never had the luck or the fortune to come through and get a race victory. So for him to get the job done in the first race of the season, it really shows that the talent and the credence we all guessed was there is finally there in the results page. Great to see Gabriel Bortoleto in race 2. A reverse grid race, always very difficult to get right because you're under so much pressure to make a mistake from the faster drivers behind you. But he didn't crack under the pressure. He held it to the flag with a very mature and controlled drive. And it was wonderful to see Gabriele Mini with that gutsy fighting determination he's got. He's only going to be here for this weekend as well, so he's really making the most of his 2 visits.
That's right, reverse grid race added to the competition for the first time here in 2022. Now there's also a twist in the tail with the return of Pierre-Louis Chauvet, and that puts a really good smile on this man's face. Tell me why.
Well, last year he was the vice champion. He won 6 races in the championship. He's definitely got the ability to win more. At the moment, he's only here for 1 weekend, but you've got to say the man who won the most races in last year's championship returning, that's going to be very spicy.
That's right. All right. So, well, there's plenty to talk about. But as we head into the competition, one team that is shining on is the Mumbai Falcons. They've off to a stellar start there, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely. With 3 top drivers, Sebastian Montoya, Dino Beganovic and Artur Leclerc. It's likely that the championship could be fought between Beganovic and Leclerc moving forward, but they're also going to have some competition from Isaac Hajar. And to be fair, they have come out of the blocks fighting. They've been fighting for race victory in all 3 races, and they look even stronger than they were last year with Kushmayani and Jahan Darawala.
That's right. Now, if we talk about the competition in itself, Jake, you know, there are drivers representing more than 15 nations, and then you've got a healthy pool of competition right there, which includes 4 F1 drivers, junior academy drivers right there. What do you think of the level of competition that the Formula Regional Asian has to offer?
It's extraordinary, and I tell you what, it really has taken a massive leap forward even from last year. We had some incredible competitors in 2021. This year, the gap is even closer, and it's very unpredictable to know who's going to get the victory. Last year, we had a bit of an idea between 4 or 5 drivers. This year, there are a dozen of them who can win races, and it all comes down to how they get things done in qualifying here. This is a tough circuit to get right. It's dusty, it changes from lap to lap, and the temperature changes from one day to the next means that setup becomes almost irrelevant. So everybody's going to have to get their thinking caps on into qualifying.
Right, and you've been on air commentating, of course, at the Yas Marina circuit and right here for the F4 UAE qualifyings as well. What have you made out of the circuit? How difficult is it to get a fast lap here?
It's very tricky, particularly today because the winds are strong, so the crosswinds are actually going to blow a lot of sand onto the circuit. It will be tricky, it will be technical, and the drivers are going to find it very difficult. We can hear the cars out on track now, dialing in their first laps. They're going to be getting up to speed, so now it's all about how much they make of this session.
That's right. Well, it's almost time for the qualifying. Now, before we head into racing action, here is what Arthur Leclerc had to say, one of the favorites at the championship. We'll see you on the other side. I have with me Arthur Leclerc, who is one of the favorites for the championship and clearly has had a really hot weekend with the Mumbai Falcons. First of all, congratulations. You've had 2 podiums over the weekends already. What do you make of the championship and how are you feeling yourself?
No, I think, it's difficult to talk about the championship now because obviously it's a bit early in the season, but yeah, we did a good weekend in Abu Dhabi. We learned quite a lot from the beginning to the end of the weekend. We did some good steps, so let's continue to work.
And how's the team coming along?
Sorry?
How is the team coming along?
But it's going good. I feel really good in the team. We are doing some good work, like I said. We still have some pace to find a bit in race run, so yeah, we are still working on it and we will push for Dubai.
Right, now that we're shifting gears from the Yas Marina circuit to the Dubai Autodrome, how different are the 2 circuits for you?
How do I feel what?
How different are the 2 circuits for you?
Oh, it feels quite good. It's the first time I'm driving on this track, so the layout is cool. It's quite small. There is a lot of corners, so quite a bit of degradation, so it will be interesting in races.
All right, so for all of us, you're one of the favorites. What do you make of yourself and the kind of contender you are for this championship?
Yeah, like I said, it's still early in this season. I mean, we did some good work in Abu Dhabi. Let's keep in it. We try to focus on our work, and maybe the result will come.
I'll tell you what, he knows he's really good, but thank you so much, Arthur.
Thank you.
Well, I have with me Arthur Leclerc, who is one of the favourites for the championship and clearly has had a really hot weekend with the Mumbai Falcons.
So we're into the action then for the Formula Regional Asian Championship qualifying session. If you've just joined us, you haven't missed a moment. It's definitely going to be very exciting from here on out as the competitors are getting themselves dialed in to this Dubai Autodrome circuit, and we are very excited about how it's going to go. Hello to all those of you who are watching, however you are watching, whether it's through the official Formula Regional Asia Championship page or whether it is through the Mumbai Falcons page as well. We are very much excited about how things are progressing, and it's going to be a sensational battle for the top spot. I'm Jake Sanson, and I'll talk you through the entirety of Q1 and Q2. And it will be very, very intense from the start. Dino Beganovic gets the first real banker lap under his belt with a 1:40.0, and it's topped already by Frederick Lubin, the British driver, who is one of the rookies in the category, who has decided to come out of the blocks fighting from the get-go. There's Oliver Goethe in the Gulf colours of his 3Y Technology UAE car, who has decided to go out and put a very fast lap under his belt very quickly indeed. And up to the top spot he goes. Nicola Marinangeli comes across the line and gets 5th position. And also up to the top 10 comes Gabriel Bortoleto, the man who won race 2 last week at Yas Marina, as Levent Revej goes into the top 10 as he comes across the line in his Evans GP car. Here come the Mumbai Falcons. What are they going to get? Dino Beganovic goes top spot, and then Arthur Leclerc displaces him. So Arthur Leclerc, the Monegascan, who we've just heard from in coverage, who spoke to Ridimar yesterday. But what a battle it is for these guys as they are going to be battling for the championship. Here comes Jack Crawford, 3rd position for the Red Bull young gun from the United States as he goes into 3rd position. Sebastian Montoya has now come up into P2 ahead of Paul Aron, who is in 4th. And then Dino Beganovic. Hamda Al-Kubaisi has come out of the blocks very quickly indeed. 6th position for her so far. Let's not forget that this is a happy hunting ground for her. It's not her home circuit. Her home circuit is actually Yas Marina, where she did such a fantastic job in F4 UAE last year. But she has made the transition very quickly indeed to racing in the Formula Regional Asian car. It is a massive leap up from F4 to the Formula Regional car, as this is essentially now the new name for this car. It used to be known as F3 Asia. Now, of course, it has transferred to the Formula Regional Asian Championship after the FIA requested the withdrawal of the name F3 from domestic and regional competitions. The only F3 Championship now is the one that's partnering the F1 and F2 race weekends. So now it's Formula Regional Asia. Top spot then goes Hadrien David, the Frenchman, in fantastic style, 0.3 of a second quicker than Arthur Leclerc. But Arthur Leclerc is on another fast lap. This is Dino Beganovic, the Swede, very popular indeed in the paddock, and particularly with the Mumbai Falcons racing team. They love to push this super Swede. A lot of people are saying he's a bit of a next generation Ronnie Peterson. And there's the proof. Bang! 1:34.7, 0.3 of a second faster than anybody else. Even Arthur Leclerc can't quite get within 1/4 of a second of his lap time. Montoya, though, can. Goes just 45 thousandths of a second slower. And there is Arthur Leclerc we're watching, younger brother of Ferrari Formula 1 driver Charles, and Arthur is in the Ferrari Racing Driver Academy himself. But Jack Crawford now pops up to 3rd position, the Red Bull superstar, the young man from the United States of America. His colleague in the Red Bull Junior program has not come out onto the top 10 yet, Isaac Hajar. And as I say that, he proves me wrong. 4th position straight away with his first major flying lap. Isaac Hajar comes up into P4. Then Arthur Leclerc in 5th, Hadrien David, Gabriele Mini, Paul Aron, Pepe Marti, and Pierre-Louis Chevet. He's in the top 10 in his first qualifying session back. He hasn't been in a single-seater racing car for 7 months as Pierre-Louis Chevet. He had a very tricky remainder of the campaign to 2021 after just failing to grab the championship in Formula Regional Asia, which eventually went to Guan Yu Zhou, who of course has gone from that championship to Formula 1 with the Alfa Romeo team. He'll partner Valtteri Bottas, but he came from this very championship a year ago as the champion. So obviously, all of the drivers in this category want to do as much as they possibly can and be as strong as possible, because they know that Guan Yu Zhou has gone from here to Formula 1 in less than a year. So you never know, it could happen to someone else. Gabriel Bortoleto now pops up to 4th position, just a whisker ahead of Hajar and Leclerc across the line. One of the Mumbai Falcons getting a good draft from an Evans GP car as they come across the line. Now that is Dino Beganovic using the draft of the number 11 machine. That is Levent Revej, the Hungarian, as Sebastian Montoya goes top spot. 1:34.335 for the Colombian. Fantastic stuff for him so far. Jack Crawford goes second though, 0.087 seconds away. Now remember that in the Formula Regional Asian Championship, the fastest lap times from Q1 will set the grid for Q1. Q2 will set the positions on the starting grid for race 3. Because obviously the grid for race 2 is determined by the finishing positions from race 1 with the top 10 finishers reversed. So Sebastian Montoya going for pole position in this category. That was Paul Aron you just saw in the background. There is Sebastian Montoya, the Colombian star who won on his debut last time out at Yas Marina. Fabulous story this. He had all sorts of misfortune and bad luck to come his way in his Formula 4 days. He was always a top competitor in FIA, European and World Karting as well. But again, he just never had the luck. And now he is finally getting the results he deserves. His father, Juan Pablo Montoya, was there with him last week in Yas Marina. He has had to return to prepare for his IndyCar program. But I know he's going to be watching, and he will be very, very impressive. Very impressed with Sebastian Montoya's continued pace. It's only a shame that he's not doing the full season campaign, because he could easily be a championship contender. Hadrian David has crept up to second place, the Frenchman, as he goes P2. Jack Crawford is third. Pepe Marti has come up to fourth place. Great work from the Spaniard, who ended up having 2 problems over the course of his first 2 races. He got into 2 separate incidents. Pepe Marti, unfortunately, in a crash with a competitor in race 1. And then it happened again in race 2 when he tangled with Hadrian David in Cembolo Bassi. So big problems for Pepe Marti in Yas Marina. But he fought it back to win the rookie category in race 3. So he has got the speed to be up at the sharp end. That is for sure. Hadrian David in second place from Jack Crawford, Pepe Marti, Dino Beganovic, Gabriel Bortoletto, Hajar, Leclerc, Mini and Paul Aron. Then Pierre-Louis Chauvet from Leonardo Fornaroli, who's come up. Gabriele Mini now goes ahead of Arthur Leclerc, 0.6 of a second between them. Fred Lubin is in 13th place as Isaac Hajar displaces Gabriel Bortoletto by 16 thousandths of a second. Madan Angeli is currently 14th ahead of Oliver Goethe. Then the 27, Delano Van Toff, who finally makes his debut in Formula Regional Asia. We didn't get to see him, unfortunately, last time out at Yas Marina. Health issues kept him from being in the car. Josh Dufek has come up to 12th position. He's another one of the star rookie drivers in the field, and he did a fantastic job last time out at Yas Marina to currently lie joint second in the points alongside his high-tech teammate Leonardo Fornaroli. So Josh Dufek, the Swiss driver, very much one to watch here this weekend as well, as he gets the nature of the Dubai Autodrome under his belt. Oliver Goethe coming across the line. Can he improve? Yes, he does. He displaces Nicola Madan Angeli to go into 15th position. 3.5 minutes or so left of the qualifying session. Out of the final turn, that is one of the 3Y technology cars coming across the line. It's Gabriel Bortoletto, the man who won race 2. He had a reverse grid pole, but you still got to win from a reverse grid pole. That is the major mission. And a lot of drivers in the past have buckled under the pressure doing that in various categories. But the first time it was ever used in Formula Regional Asia, Gabriel Bortoletto kept his cool and kept the lead and the victory. Montoya across the line. What can he do? It doesn't improve on his 1:34.335. Hadrian David is looking likely to be on the front row of the grid. That's Isaac Hajar, I think, coming across the line in the background. No, sorry, that's Crawford in the other Red Bull-coloured car. Because obviously there are 2 drivers in the Red Bull Junior Academy that are here this weekend. Jack Crawford, there he is, the young American, and the Frenchman Isaac Hajar. And they are actually running in different teams as well. Even though their cars are in the Red Bull colours, they're in separate teams. So Jack Crawford is racing in the Abu Dhabi Racing by PREMA team, whereas Isaac Hajar is racing for High-Tech GP. And, of course, the expert tutelage of Oliver Oakes, superstar kart racer in Europe, and then High-Tech Grand Prix team founder and manager. And what a fantastic operation High-Tech GP have been over the years. They were actually the team that helped get the W Series off and underway. Their technical expertise in running the cars in their first season in 2019, and they have had much success and amazing performances over the years with multiple wins and champions created. So Jack Crawford currently 3rd position, less than 1/10 of a second away from the pace of Sebastian Montoya. That is how competitive it is in Formula Regional Asia in 2022. So it's Montoya from David, Crawford, Marti and Bogdanovic, Hajar, Bortoleto, and they're all covered by less than half a second. Gabriele Mini is 8th, Leclerc is 9th, and then Paul Aron in 10th place from Delano Van Toff, who missed the racing in Yas Marina, but has come straight up to 11th place. Mind you, he always was pretty strong in this circuit in F4 UAE. He almost won the championship last year, don't forget, in his battle with Enzo Trulli. So he knows the track very well and certainly has seemed to get used to the Pinnacle Motorsports car very quickly. 12th place is Pierre-Louis Chevet, so he's within a second of the pole time. Not bad going at all from him on his return to single-seaters for the first time in 7 months, but he did win the majority of the races in last year's championship. Josh Dufek in 13th place from Leonardo Fornaroli, Frederick Lubin, Oliver Goethe, Nicola Maranangeli, Hamda Al-Kubaisi, Ayato Iwasaki, and then Khaled Al-Kubaisi is there next up in position, 20th place. David Morales is 21st from Levente Revej and Lorenzo Flusha, who's really struggling to find the pace this time. Amna Al-Kubaisi, fresh from her recovery after last week's accident. She had no injuries at all, but she is now in 24th position. And then the other two drivers in the Masters category, Salih Yaluch and Thomas Luedi, who are still getting up to speed. That is the Mumbai Falcons race team. Just having a look at the times. I'm sure that Aman, Aditya and Moid are all there, just keeping an eye on their man, Sebastian Montoya, up in the top spot at the moment. Pole position likely for the Colombian, unless this man in the three-way technology UAE car, Hadrian David, who got himself in front of the stewards a couple of times over the course of the weekend at Yas Marina, including the instigator of a nightmare accident between himself, Cembolok Bassi and Pepe Marti in race 2 at Yas Marina, when he tried to put 3 cars into the same bit of racetrack and actually came off better than the other 2, but he picked up so much damage from the accident that it was game over anyway. Checkered flag as Arthur Leclerc is the first to take it. The Mumbai Falcons come across the line together. Montoya still top. Bogdanovic still P5. Leclerc still P9. Is anybody going to snatch the pole time away from Montoya? We watch for Hadrian David across the line to see if he can take it. Can Crawford? No, Crawford cannot. What about Pepe Marti? He's within a good chance of getting it as well. So Pepe Marti, Isaac Hajar and Hadrian David are all on their final qualifying laps as into the pits comes one of the Pinnacles. That's Pepe Marti into the pits, so he's not going to beat the time because he's bailed out of the lap, as is Amna Al-Kubaisi. What about Hadrian David? Is Hadrian David going to be able to get another lap in? Bortoleto and Hajar are still on laps, but as far as Moy Tungakar is concerned, Sebastian Montoya has the pole. He doesn't think that can be beaten. Hajar has bailed out of the lap. So too is Pierre-Louis Chevet. Over the line will come Hadrian David. He's the last one on a flying lap, and he has come the closest to Sebastian Montoya's time. So can Hadrian David get the fast lap? No, he's bailed out of the lap as well. So that pretty much seals the deal for Sebastian Montoya. He will come through as the pole setter. So he has got pole position then for race 1 of the weekend. Excellent stuff from the Colombian, just as he managed to do last time out at Yas Marina. So these are the provisional results. Montoya from David, Crawford, Marti and Bogdanovic from Bortoleto, Hajar and Mini, Leclerc, Aron and Delano Van Toff. Then Josh Dufek and Pierre-Louis Chevet, Hamda Al-Kubaisi and Oliver Goethe from Leonardo Fornaroli, Frederick Lubin and Nicola Maranangeli. Behind them it is Ayato Iwasaki from Khaled Al-Kubaisi, David Morales, Levente Revej, Lorenzo Flusha, Amna Al-Kubaisi, Thomas Luedi and Salih Yaluch. A very competitive battle, and it's definitely going to be very intense. That's Q1. It's only going to be a few minutes now until Q2. Here's the highlights from qualifying.
right then, we've got the man Sebastian Montoya on the top of the table. There we've got a pole position right there. That man, his father, Juan Pablo Montoya, is a very proud man. And just getting into the qualifying, we were talking about how well Mumbai Falcons have been performing. Another good day for them.
Yeah, another great pole position. It's clear that this isn't just a flash in the pan. You always wonder in the first round of the championship, have we just got the setup of the circuit? But no, they've got the setup of the car and the championship as a whole. Sebastian Montoya in excellent form at the moment. Really nice to see Hadrian David up at the front end of the field as well. That adds to the unpredictability of it, because now we've got a few more drivers towards the front end trying to take the place away. But certainly, I think Sebastian Montoya is probably wishing he's doing the whole campaign now, because he's got a chance to win the championship in the kind of performance he's got consistently. But it's a great start.
And so are the Mumbai Falcons with the kind of points that he's been putting up in the leader table.
Oh, it's fantastic for the team's championship. It definitely gives them a little bit more confidence. I have a feeling there's going to be a little bit more to do with Dino and Artur. They weren't quite at the pace they wanted to be, but I'm sure the team will be working on that. They're currently down there in pit lane at the moment. There's that little bit of adjust time in between sessions. This is where the teams will change tyres. They'll adjust tyre pressures. They'll work on different bits and pieces that they can work on to try and find a little bit more speed out of the car. This is a crucial 10 minutes for the teams, because this is the last chance they're going to get to give themselves a decent starting position for race 3.
Indeed. And you know, Jake, I was having a word with Juan Pablo Montoya, and he said that Sebastian is actually a better man than me. What is your take on that?
I think he's quite honest, and you know, it's a really interesting observation, because I think we've all been aware that Juan Pablo has always been a very fiery, very tempestuous character, and I think he'd be the first to admit that. Sebastian's a little bit more chilled. He's a little bit more cool in terms of his general demeanor, but when he gets behind the wheel, he's got exactly the same fire and tenacity that Juan Pablo had. It's really interesting, because we've seen a few drivers now come through this category who are the offspring of a famous racer, and it's always really interesting to see how the legacy is going to continue. You almost get the sense with Sebastian that he's the more rounded and complete personality, which is definitely going to help him in terms of his climb up the ladder. But they can be very proud of him. They've created yet another Colombian superstar.
That's right, and there is another driver who has that kind of mindset, and is Gabriel Mini. Take a look at him as we slip into action. Well, I've got with me the man who's leading the championship so far, Gabriel Mini. Gabriel, what do you make of the championship? What do you make of the championship and the competition that we've had so far?
Well, the championship is a really high level this year. The grid is really strong. I said will not do the full championship. I will only compete in this last round at Dubai, so the second round. But yeah, I'm having fun. The car seems pretty good, so we'll see what we can do this weekend.
How different do you find Yas from DA?
Yes, Marina is, I think, quite different track. It's a bit longer, more corners. The degradation in this track in Dubai is quite a lot higher. So yeah, so we'll have to see how it will be in the races. For sure, it'll be more interesting with the degradation and everything. We'll see how it goes.
All right. And you're only doing these 2 weekends. What is the purpose? You're only doing these 2 weekends. What is the purpose?
Well, I'm only doing these 2 weekends. It was mainly a preparation for the European Championship. So yeah, certainly will not do. It would have been nice to do the full championship, but I think it's already a really good preparation with these 2 first rounds.
Perfect. From the pool of the drivers that we have, who do you think is the biggest challenger?
Well, I don't see anyone as a biggest challenger. I see everyone is really strong. So every weekend we'll have the fastest on track, and we'll see who will be.
All right. Thank you so much, Gabriel. All the best.
Thank you.
The surprise of qualifying then was definitely Hadrian David from Q1. To be up there at the front end of the field is very impressive. Yep, you just heard from the championship leader, Gabriele Mini. It's ambivalent, championship leader Gabriele Mini, because of course he's only going to be competing at this race weekend. After this weekend, he goes back to Europe to continue his motor racing program back home. So this is a difficult weekend in a way for Gabriele Mini, because he could well be leaving here as the championship leader, knowing that he can't actually go for the title. It's always very interesting when they've got a partial campaign. What this does mean, though, is that it's advantage Artur Leclerc. He has a great chance because he's going to be here for the full campaign, as is the likes of Gabriel Bortoleto and Lorenzo Flusha, the men who are at the top spot. Now, one thing that's worth pointing out, though, is that Lorenzo Flusha and the 3Y Technology UAE crew, they had a really difficult Q1. There's no two ways about that. Flusha was not at the sharp end of the field the way he should have been. And we come to expect incredible things from the Spanish talent. So something's definitely not quite gone right for the Spaniard in terms of qualifying. There is the 28 car. That, of course, is Arthur Leclerc, the young man from Monaco. Younger brother of Formula One Grand Prix winner and Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc. But Arthur Leclerc very much making a way for himself in his own right. He's going to be racing in Formula 2 this year. And as part of the Ferrari Racing Driver Academy, Arthur is proving that there really is something in the water in the Leclerc household. It tends to churn out incredible racing drivers. Who knows, maybe one day we could see the first brother pairing at the Ferrari Grand Prix team. You never know. Speaking of families in the same team, there is the Abu Dhabi Racing PREMA team. 3 drivers in the same family. Father Khaled Al Kubaisi, who is the multiple winner of the Dubai 24 Hours. Then Amna Al Kubaisi, very talented single-seater racer and karting champion. She won the Dubai O-Plate a few years ago in the gearbox category. And of course, Hamda Al Kubaisi, who last year did a fantastic job in F4 UAE with a pair of victories over the course of the season at Yas Marina. So all 3 drivers in the field for the same family, and they are all multiple race winners in multiple disciplines of the sport. So the Al Kubaisi family definitely in fantastic battle. There they are. 66 is Khaled, 99 is Amna, and 88 is Hamda. Now, of course, there's quite a few people that have been asking us after last week. The questions that came into us were, is Amna Al Kubaisi okay? Is she all right? Because, of course, we had problems last week in one of the races because we had a major accident that came into the 3rd and final race of the weekend. And that, of course, came from Amna Al Kubaisi, Chembolok Bassi and Salih Yaluch. Fortunately, all 3 of them is absolutely fantastic stuff for the competition. I've just been corrected, actually, by the fans in the YouTube channel. They've told me that he's in F3, not in F2. You're absolutely right, of course. Arthur Leclerc will be racing in F3 this year. My apologies. He's obviously accelerating through his performance. Now, All Mobile Gaming asks, is Chembolok Bassi going to continue with the championship? As far as I'm aware, that is the plan. I'm fairly sure he is doing the full campaign of the 2022 season. So hopefully that is the way it's going to work out for them. So it could be an interesting battle and an interesting challenge. So we'll obviously have to see how it progresses and how it goes. So it could be a very exciting battle and a very exciting challenge moving forward. Q2 gets underway. Now, this is the session that determines the starting grid for race 3 of the weekend, because of course we've just set the grid for race 1. Race 2 is determined by the finish of race 1 with the top 10 places reverse gridded. So race 3 is decided, the starting grid, by the performance in Q2. There's going to be a lot of drivers in this particular session that will be doing their homework and trying to make sure that they accelerate up the ranking, because they really want to do a good job and they want to make sure that they are up at the sharp end of the field. So there's a lot of work to do for several drivers in this particular qualifying session. It's a 15-minute session, just as it was the first time round. But the impetus and the onus is now on the competitors to really push their way forward. Hello to those of you who are watching. If you've just tuned in, you've only missed the first qualifying session of the weekend so far. I'm Jake Sanson, alongside Rhythm Al Patak, and we are going to take our way through the competition all the way through the weekend here in the Formula Regional Asian Championship. It was a fantastic performance that we saw earlier on in time qualifying in Q1, and was Sebastian Montoya getting the top spot in front of Hadrien David, the Frenchman. Very unexpected to see him at the top spot towards the front end of the field, but a very pleasant surprise. And the battle behind is incredibly close. You've got the likes of Zach Crawford right up there with Gabriel Bortoletto and Arthur Leclerc, Dino Beganovic in there as well. So a lot of great talents right up at the sharp end. It's going to be very, very close all the way through the weekend. So here are the Mumbai Falcons. They do like to get out on the circuit nice and early. If there was a victory in a championship for which team gets out onto the track first, Mumbai Falcons would very nearly win it every time. They clearly want to use the open track surface. They don't want to get head up in traffic. They don't want to get held up by other people, so they just want to do their routine. And the advantage is that the 3 drivers can essentially help each other along by using each other's draft and using each other's toe to good advantage. Now, Sebastian Montoya was the man who managed to get pole position in the first session. Both Arthur Leclerc and Dino Beganovic had a little bit of a lackluster Q1, it has to be said. Beganovic was able to get it up to P5. Arthur Leclerc was actually struggling in Q1. He didn't really get the lap time he wanted. Oh, there's a car stopped on the circuit. There is a 3Y Technology car stopped out on the circuit. Now, that is dramatic because that is obviously not far off the racing line. That could actually bring out the red flags potentially. Now, I hope it doesn't, but there is a car that is stationary on the racetrack just off to the side of the white lines. Now, I can't quite tell who that is. It's definitely one of the 3Y technology cars, but we have a car that is stationary out on the circuit. It's the 16. That is Lorenzo Flusha. That is the top 5 man in the championship fight. This is agony for the Spanish driver. This is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. Well, now he's got the car going again, but this is not what you need when you've had a strong weekend at Yas Marina, and a strong weekend he certainly had. But Lorenzo Flusha does not need this. Oh, the red flags have come out. I did say that there was a good chance that the red flags might come out as a result of that stationary car, and it's turned out to be the case. So red flags as a result of Lorenzo Flusha's car. Unfortunately, they took that decision, and then Lorenzo Flusha started to get going again. So it's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. So everybody that was on a fast lap, they've had to bail out of it. So no times as yet. And that means that everybody will come back to the pits, and they will head back out again when the time is right. Oh, he stopped again. He stopped again out on the circuit. Well, this is not good. Lorenzo Flusha, he's trying to find a gear by the look of it. I think he's got transmission issues. But, yeah, Lorenzo Flusha having all sorts of problems, and that's why we've got the red flags. But, well, dear oh dear, this isn't good news for Lorenzo Flusha, who is currently 5th in the championship standings. And if you take into account that there's going to be a couple of drivers up in that top 5 that will not complete the full championship, such as Gabriele Mini or Sebastian Montoya, then effectively Lorenzo Flusha is actually 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. But he doesn't need this. He really doesn't need this kind of problem. Last week was pretty good for the 3Y Technology driver. He's managed to bring it back to the pits at least. So the red flag will not be a long one. But he didn't need this kind of difficulty coming into Q2, because this is a real problem for Flusha. So the cars come into the pits. Because the cause of the red flag has already returned to the pit lane, this is not going to be a long procedure at all. This is essentially just going to be run through protocol, make sure there isn't red flags, making sure there isn't fluid or anything down on the circuit. If there is, then the marshals will make adjustments and make changes that they need to. But this is a good time for questions from the floor, because I know you had an amazing amount of questions last week in Yas Marina during our red flag period. So if you have any particular questions, we'll try and get them answered through the course of Q2. The cars are basically just put into their positions in front of their pit garages once again. But it's definitely going to be an exciting battle once we get going again for Q2, especially now that they're going to have less time to get a fast lap under their belts. Now, there are the drivers back in position, the high-tech team, with their 4 fantastic competitors, Leonardo Fornaroli, Isaac Hajar, Joshua Dufek, and Gabriele Mini. What an amazing squadron of drivers in that particular squad. The 3-way technology team, Oliver Goethe in the Gulf Racing colours, then Lorenzo Flusha, Hadrian David and Gabriel Bortoletto. They've even formed them up in their number order down there in the pits. They're incredibly organised at 3Y Technology. The Abu Dhabi Racing by PREMA team, namely of Paul Aron, Khaled Al-Kubaisi, Hamdar Al-Kubaisi and Amnar Al-Kubaisi, the 3 members of the Emirati family. Frederick Lubin of the Evans Grand Prix team, along with the Academy drivers David Morales and Leventa Revej. Nicola Marinangeli is the other driver in the Evans GP team, of course. Black Arts Racing that have Bryce Morabito, the Luxembourger, and their man Pierre-Louis Chauvet back in the car. Great to see him there, alongside the Masters driver Thomas Luedi. So, Varun Nair asks, why do you think the reason is behind Artur not doing well in qualifying? It's a good question, and one that I'm sure the Mumbai Falcons team will be asking as well, because Sebastian Montoya got a good lap in. Dino didn't get a fantastic one in either. So Artur Leclerc being so far down the order, it's ridiculously close in these cars, and this is a circuit that lends itself to straight line speed, good slipstreaming, and for whatever reason, the sectors just didn't come together. Maybe there's a slight difficulty in mechanical grip. I did say it wouldn't be a long red flag period, because they just had to make sure that everything was hunky-dory out on the track. They didn't exactly have to do a clean-up operation. So very exciting stuff as they go back out onto the circuit. Q2 is back underway again. Now, Srihari Desai asks, Montoya last year was not bad, but this year he is a beast. Good description. Does the break in between change a driver much? Actually, it does, because different drivers will have different training regimes in between seasons. And we picked up on this story a little while ago. Sebastian Montoya in F4 last season was always quick, was always very strong, but he just never had the luck. The race result never really came together. He's always had that speed and tenacity. It was always the same in karting as well. The result was close, but it never really came. So it's a difficult situation. But over the winter, I know for a fact that Sebastian Montoya has been working very hard with his coach and his team. The Ferrari Racing Driver Academy has supported him a lot. They've pushed him to raise the bar a little bit more. And he has come into this Formula Regional Asia season a completely rejuvenated character. He is much more the complete package than he was a year ago. So it's a completely different Sebastian Montoya from what you saw last year. But I have a feeling you're going to see a lot more of him from here on out, because his speed and his pace, you're absolutely right, Srihari, has been absolutely demonstrous. Absolutely terrific stuff. Now, All Mobile Gaming asks, will the points scored by Montoya going to add to the Constructors' Championship? For a start, it's not really a Constructors' Championship, it's a Teams' Championship, because there's only one constructor, namely Tartus. They're the ones that build all the cars, and so all of the cars are exactly identical. So it's a Teams' Championship rather than a Constructors' Championship. Just a slight correction. But it depends on which drivers have been nominated to score points, because only 2 drivers per team are nominated to score points for the championship, and they're allowed to change that from race meeting to race meeting. It would not at all surprise me if they had opted to go with Sebastian Montoya to be the car that takes points for the Team's Championship, based on the fact he has done a fantastic job. That kind of adds on to the question asked by Varun Nair. How are the team points calculated if a driver only does a few rounds? Well, the team nominates 2 drivers each weekend to be the ones that will take the championship points for the team. So it's not always the same 2 drivers each time. So that's how it works out. So now they're getting themselves up to speed. The problem is now they've got to do all of that work to warm up the tyres and the brakes up to temperature all over again. And it's a difficult procedure, because you obviously got to weave from side to side to generate that core temperature into the grain of the tyre. And let's not forget, we're going to do a piece on this in the build-up to race 1. But there is a very strict regulation on tyres. Each car only has 3 sets of tyres, I should say, for the entirety of the weekend. And that's from the start of practice 1. So they only have 3 sets of tyres for the whole weekend from the start of practice 1. And they've got to be very tactical in how they use it. Now, Marcus Littlewood asks on the YouTube feed, will Oliver Bearman race in this series? Yes, he will. He'll be competing in the last 2 rounds of the championship. His first race will be 2 weeks from now on this very circuit at the Dubai Autodrome. Varun Nair also asks, is it before or after the race weekend that the nomination is made? It's made before. So it's made before the race weekend starts as to which drivers go through. Because obviously it would be very easy to wait till the end of the weekend and just pick the 2 drivers that scored the most points. But it doesn't work like that. You've got to nominate the 2 drivers that score team points before the weekend starts. Now, Gabriele Mini has gone top spot for the first race of the... first lap of the session, I should say. A 1:34.9. That's a good banker. Isaac Hajar comes straight out of the blocks with a 1:34.5 to go top spot, but expect the times to be in the 1:33s. So Hajar, Mini, Bortoletto, Dufek, Lubin, Leclerc. That is definitely going to change, as some of the big names are still to set top spot times. So expect Dino Beganovic and Sebastian Montoya to come out of the blocks fighting. This is Arthur Leclerc, the man who effectively leads the championship if you count out Gabriele Mini, who is going to be moving back to Europe after this one. But it's definitely very exciting stuff at the moment as the Mumbai Falcons car of Arthur Leclerc tries to go for the top spot. Hopefully they'll have made the adjustments needed in between sessions to really maximize the pace of this car. Fantastic that we get to see the qualifying session this weekend. We were unable to, sadly, last week. But now here we are in Dubai Autodrome, and we can show you all of this significant action as it happens. There are the Mumbai Falcon crew, just getting themselves dialed in and ready. They've got 1 pole position with Sebastian Montoya. Can they get a second? Well, Arthur Leclerc thinks so. He gets a time that's only 0.03 of a second slower than Hajar, and Beganovic is a 1/10 of a second away now as well, and Montoya is 0.2 of a second away. So certainly the Frenchman Isaac Hajar is on the top spot for the moment. His Red Bull stablemate Jack Crawford goes 5th fastest, but those two Red Bull drivers are in two separate teams. Mini has gone top spot again, though. 1:34.481 for the Italian stallion. He goes up into the top spot. Now, it's going to be a really exciting battle for Mini. Up to second comes Gabriel Bortoleto. Expect big things from him this weekend. The Brazilian driver has been very strong since he got himself a victory last time out at Yas Marina, and his confidence has skyrocketed. Delano Van Toff gets up into the top 10, along with Josh Dufek, who has outpaced Pierre-Louis Chevet, who was the most successful driver in terms of race wins in last year's Formula Regional Asian Championship when it was known as F3 Asia. And of course now it is known as Formula Regional Asia. Up to the top spot goes Pepe Marti. The Spanish driver really has banged in a fast time. So Pepe Marti on the top spot now, and that is great news for the Spanish talent who had a miserable first two races of the championship at Yas Marina. He finally got it together in race 3, but now he'll want to get some more points under his belt. So Gabriele Mini, Gabriel Bortoleto, Isaac Hajar and Arthur Leclerc are giving chase to the new pole position sitter, the number 23 of Pepe Marti, who for the Pinnacle Motorsport team is doing a stunning job. Now there is Isaac Hajar. Oh no, sorry, that is... No, it is Isaac Hajar. I was right the first time. The Red Bull driver who was on the top spot. He's on a fast lap. Montoya gets back into 6th position. What can Isaac Hajar do as he comes across the line? Jack Crawford it was. I was right that I was wrong. Jack Crawford in 3rd position. So Marti, Mini, Crawford, Bortoleto, Leclerc and Hajar from Montoya, Beganovic, Aron and Delano Van Toff. 0.3 of a second between them and still time to find in the circuit as well. So expect some big things. There is Amna Al-Kubaisi, little puff of smoke as she gets on the brakes. A little bit too deep. Oh, she's run wide there. Not great news for the Abu Dhabi Racing by PREMA driver. That's a fast lap gone. Now, this is interesting. The Mumbai Falcons switching position on the road as Montoya actually bails out of a lap there. Oh, and so too does Dina Beganovic. I wonder if there was a little miscommunication there between the drivers as Paul Aron goes past them both, the Abu Dhabi Racing PREMA driver. So it's going to be a fascinating battle for the contenders. So this will be a really exciting battle for the competitors. Adrian David is fast again as he goes 2nd quickest. Excellent stuff for the competitors in the team. Adrian David and 3Y Technology very much ramping up the speed. There is Gabriele Mini in his final weekend of Formula Regional Asia before he moves back to the European scene once again. But it's Marti, David, Mini, Crawford and Bortoleto. Then the leading Mumbai Falcons car is Arthur Leclerc in 6th place at the moment. So they've certainly not started Q2 in quite the same way. Krishna Shankar points out that Pepe Marti was confirmed for F3 recently. Must be feeling good. Absolutely right. It does a racing driver the power of good. And Josep Maria Marti, or Pepe Marti as he is known, a fabulous young competitor. Been watching him through the ranks of Spanish karting and through European karting for the last few years. He's now stepped up to single-seater racing. Did a good job in F4 last year, and here he is in Formula Regional Asia. Confirmed, as you mentioned, but he has been displaced by Gabriele Mini, who finds another fast lap in the high-tech car. Mini is another one who's been stellar. The only driver who could really hold a canto to Lorenzo Travasanuto in the karting season in 2019, his last year in karts before switching to cars. He's been a mammoth competitor in Italian F4 last season. He was the star of the show, and now he is here in Formula Regional Asia before he goes to the European category, and he's been fast straight out of the blocks. Remember the name Gabriele Mini. You'll be hearing it a lot over the next couple of years. So it really is going to be sensational. 5 drivers separated by a whisker over 1/10 of a second, and we're still yet to see what Leclerc, Montoya and Beganovic can really do. There's a slow car going down the main straight. That is Ayato Iwasaki, the Filipino driver. So there's a problem, I think, for the Pinnacle Motorsport team. I do believe that's Johan Darawala, who is there on the Mumbai Falcons pit wall, watching along. The team that he raced for last year, picked up 3 race victories over the course of the season as well. But he is a guest of the team this weekend. So great to see him back in the car again. We will see him, of course, in Formula 2 racing once again, flying the flag on the international motorsport scene for the pride of India. But Gabriele Mini out in pole position in this session at the moment. But for how much longer? Because this man, Sebastian Montoya, appears to be on a fast lap. So he might be able to get something out of the bag here as he comes off the final turn. He got pole position in Q1. What can he do in Q2? We'll find out momentarily from this lap. no improvement. 8th position still for the Colombian. So a lot of teams have been able to find a little bit more pace out of Q2 than they did in Q1, and this will leave the team scratching their head as to where on earth the pace has disappeared. As we look back, there is the Evans GP car. That is the 14, I do believe, going through. That is Nicola Maranangeli, who is currently in 15th place behind Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Josh Dufek and Leonardo Fornaroli, the high-tech cars, are currently quicker than that car. There is Amna Al-Kubaisi, who I have to say is really struggling so far for outright speed. We know she's good enough to be at the sharp end of the field here because she's been able to prove it several times in the past, just how quick she is. But for some reason, the car just isn't getting dialed in as Hadrian David goes fastest and Pepe Marti gets into 2nd place. A bit of a whisker between those two, but Gabriele Mini is trying his best to steal back the pole position, and we're in the final 30 seconds of time qualifying. So the checkered flag is not far away, and it's going to greet the drivers as they come through this time by. But my goodness me, it's going to be close to the end of the session. There's about 8 drivers who could take the pole position here. There's less than a second covering the top 17 cars. Hamda Al-Kubaisi is a second away. I think Mini's bailed out. I think Mini's bailed out of the lap. He's not going as fast as he was. So the checkered flag comes out. Leclerc is only 7th. He can't get faster. Bogdanovic 9th. What can Montoya do? What can Paul Aron do? Only 10th. Crawford can only get P6. So it's going to be a very interesting qualifying session for the second one as Amna Al-Kubaisi comes through the final turn. What are we going to get in the top 5? Montoya can only get 8th this time. And what about the drivers as they come through? Gabriele Mini across the line. 3rd. He can't go faster. Hadrian David, though, fastest lap of qualifying. Unless he can be displaced by Isaac Hajar. Hajar comes across the line. No, 5th place. So what about Marti and Bortoleto? We'll have to wait for them. And, of course, Hadrian David could still get the pole increased. We'll have to see as they come through. Bortoleto can only get P4. He's coming to the pits. What about Marti and David? They will come through to finish off. It could be a very dramatic position for Hadrian David, the Frenchman, for 3Y Technology. And he'll be delighted with that. Across the line, the final couple of positions come. Marti is on a fast lap by the look of it as he comes across the line. What can he do? It's not enough. And it's going to be Hadrian David that gets pole position in dramatic style. I don't think anybody predicted that one coming into the weekend. So the Frenchman has done a sensational job. Hadrian David, provisional pole ahead of Pepe Marti, Gabriele Mini and Gabriel Bortoleto. Then Hajar, Crawford, Leclerc, Montoya and Bogdanovic, and Paul Aron. From Delano Van Toft, Josh Dufek, Leo Fornaroli and Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Then Maranangeli, Lubin, Goethe and Hamda Al-Kubaisi, the fastest of the family from Lorenzo Flusha, struggling again. Morales, Revej, Iwasaki, Khaled Al-Kubaisi from Amna Al-Kubaisi, Solo Yaluch and Thomas Luedi. But that's a very dramatic pole position for our pole position man, Hadrian David. We did not expect him to be at the top spot. So what a fantastic performance it has been from Hadrian David. Pole position provisionally for him. That is a big shock and a pleasant surprise for the Frenchman. But what a dramatic qualifying session it is. The cars go in for scrutineering, as they always do at the end of qualifying. They will go onto the weighbridge and make sure that everything is tickety-boo. But what a battle. Hadrian David, his first pole position in Formula Regional Asia. Well, a dramatic qualifying session in Q2, interrupted by a red flag period for the stationary Lorenzo Flusha. But what it definitely gives us is a sensational grid position for race 3. Not the field we expected in the order we expected it to be in either. So it's definitely been a very exciting battle for Q2. And so we're going to have another spicy trio of races without any shadow of doubt. Round 2 of Formula Regional Asian Championship has Montoya on pole for race 1 and David on pole for race 3. Expect the unexpected. You'll get bags of it. So don't forget to join us for the races later today. 1 race today, 2 races tomorrow. The battle is going to be joined right from the start. I'm Jake Sanson. We'll be back for more action from race 1 here at the Dubai Autodrome. Very exciting stuff indeed here. We're going to see some exciting battles across the 3 races. But the big news story, of course, is that Sebastian Montoya got pole position in race 1. Some of the marker boards have seen better days here at Dubai Autodrome. That's how hard the drivers are pushing. And for race 3, Hadrian David will be in provisional pole position as well. We're going to see 3 very different races over the course of the weekend. A lot of the big names are left scratching their heads, wondering where their pace has disappeared to. Hopefully we'll find out in time for race 1 later on today. You're going to see 3 spectacular races from the Formula Regional Asian Championship, and we'll be back for more action here at the Dubai Autodrome. A very different order compared to what we saw at Yas Marina a week ago, but that's the way we like it. Unpredictable and spicy. See you later.